And good day. With Endeavour safely home at Edwards Air Force Base in California, it's time for the post-landing news conference with Entry Flight Director Rich Jackson to my right and NASA's Manager for Launch Integration, Lawrence Shriver. We'll start off with Rich.
Good afternoon. We landed the shuttle safely at Edwards Air Force Base this afternoon at 12:02 Central Time. That was one rev later than the planned opportunity. We tried to get into Kennedy Space Center this morning. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate. We gave it a really good shot, took it right down to prior to TIG, at which time the weather was just too dynamic to commit to a landing at the Kennedy Space Center, and that's when we elected to wave off that opportunity and go around and evaluate the weather a little bit more. Approximately 30 minutes later, it was clear the situation was not going to improve, and we went ahead and committed to a landing at Edwards Air Force Base and proceeded along that path. The crew did a very good job throughout the entire deorbit prep. Everybody stayed right on timeline, and everything went very smooth during entry. We were able to accomplish all aerodynamic PTIs in addition to the subsonic maneuvers and also the drag chute DTO. So the entry was essentially flawless. It went really well.
Lauren?
And from the Space Shuttle program point of view, we're very happy, of course, to see Endeavour on the ground at Edwards. Signifies, of course, the close of another very successful mission. The last few days here in Houston, I've had a chance to talk with some of the investigators, and they all sounded very excited about the quantity and quality of data that they had been getting, and we're just happy to have another successful mission to demonstrate the science capabilities of the program.
And with that, we'll go around the centers for questions for Rich and Lauren. First here in Houston, and Dan Feldstein.
This is Dan Feldstein from the Houston Post. I don't know if either of you were even watching when they were doing the camera shots after the landing. They showed in the back right by the engines, it looked like something had hit. There was debris or some pieces missing. I was wondering if either of you saw that or had heard anything new what that was.
Yeah, I saw part of the replay. That was the area associated with the tile damage that we'd mentioned. Once we had the payload bay door open and the crew had reported that pre-launch, we had looked at that area on orbit and knew that we had at least 2 damaged tiles back in that area. The crew did take some detailed photographs of the area, and we'll get those back to see exactly what was there during post-ascent and what might have changed during the entry profile. But we had evaluated that area for the tile damage that we'd noticed.
Okay, let's go to the Kennedy Space Center now for questions.
Jim Banky of Florida Today. First for Lauren, with that OMS pod tile damage that was evident in the video, what kind of a hit is that for processing Endeavour? Is that a pain to go back and replace those tiles?
Well, I think it's probably a little preliminary to know exactly how much time it'll take to get that fixed up. It'll add a little bit, of course, to the flow, but I think in Endeavour's next flow, we've got the time to be able to do that.
Okay, and I guess going for 3 for 3 here at the end of the year, Endeavour's landed, and now the Atlantis crew is here today later for the practice countdown. You guys going to get a deep enough breath before you're ready to try this again? Is it kind of getting busy in the shuttle world?
Well, actually, I think keeping busy in the program is not all that bad. I think everybody has a tendency to stay high on the curve as far as being alert and watching for various problems, and I think the workforce likes to stay busy as opposed to having long downtime. So I think being busy in a program is not a bad thing.
Dan Billow from WESH-TV. Rich, if you could let us in on your thinking a little bit more, why not wave off today and try again tomorrow in Florida?
We'd looked at that and talked that over extensively. Due to the extra day that we provided the payloads, we were essentially down per our flight rules with 2 days left. We talked extensively with our weather folks both yesterday and again this morning to address exactly what the situation was going to be in Florida. We knew that there was a slight chance if the frontal system held up north of the Cape that we might have an opportunity to get in there today, but everyone was really pessimistic about tomorrow with essentially no chance for improvement and potential for degradation. And with that kind of situation, that's where we will normally just go ahead and activate our West Coast landing site, Edwards Air Force Base, and target to land on our nominal end of mission if there's very small probability we'll be able to make the Kennedy Space Center.
And for Lauren, I think this is 3 of the last 4 that have landed at Edwards. Does that give you any budget or processing headaches?
I don't think, any more than normal. Of course, landing out there is not our first choice, but we'll have to absorb that along with everything else.
This is Todd Halverson of Florida Today for Lauren Shriver. You've had about 11 additional days to look at options for meeting the $141 million budget shortfall the shuttle program is going to face in 1995. Can you give us a little better idea of what specifically you guys are looking at as options for cuts and what you may have decided not to cut at this time?
I can't really. I've been concentrating on the mission since we left you guys last down there in Florida in the post-launch briefing. There's still a number of things being talked about, and there's some challenges out there, and everybody's working real hard to see what we can do. But I don't know if anything's been decided yet.
Pete Galtieri, West Kentucky News. I guess for Rich. We noticed some water dripping. Can you explain that, please?
I'm not sure what water you're talking about dripping. I did not see that. I was pretty busy finishing up, and that part of the video I did not see in the post-landing television.
It was coming from the payload, or from the doors for the landing gear, and it looked also like it was coming from between some tiles from underneath the orbiter. It just looked like water, appeared to be water dripping.
Okay, I'm not sure, since I did not see the film. It's not uncommon to have condensation since the vehicle's fairly cool when we get back, when we open that up, if there's humidity in the area, and I'm not even sure what the humidity level was at Edwards.
Jim Banky with one last one. I guess this is a big what-if question, but given the timing of the decision to not deorbit to the first attempt at KSC, if you had had a landing time a few minutes earlier and you had made that decision a few minutes earlier, it could have been an interesting approach to Kennedy. How much conservatism is built into your rules to avoid what could have happened? Obviously it didn't. And what would the pilot do if he's faced with that interesting weather coming around on final?
Basically, the rules are written to be fairly conservative. We have some checkpoints in there to ensure that based on our database, and one thing I can say about the weather guys, they practice this daily, and they practice for 3 different times each day, forecasting weather, and then they'll go back through and test themselves at the proposed landing time to evaluate just how well they did. So they're continually going through that exercise. In addition, some of the rules that we have placed in there are based on some of our climatological data. The 2/10 cloud rule, for instance, for return to Kennedy Space Center, that rule is in there due to the fact that statistically, as long as you're less than 2/10 cloud cover, a changing condition will not take you into something that you would rather not fly through. You always have that possibility. However, due to the fact that we have the STA, the shuttle training aircraft with a pilot flying that, giving us our eyes in the sky, if you will, evaluating the conditions, the flight rules that basically keep a change in the observations from going from an observed go to a forecast go, in addition to the detailed experience that we have in our weather SMG office here, via the fact that these guys practice this on a daily basis. That's what tends to lead us, or lend accuracy to our forecasting capability to keep us from getting into a situation similar to what you proposed. However, if we do get into it, there would be essentially no problem. We have, we don't like to go down, if you will, to relying simply to our own board navigation systems in that profile, we like to have the pilot be able to see the PAPIs and the ball bar on his final approach, and also to be able to get a fix for the airport in the general area. However, the onboard navigation systems do provide us some capability. We're continuing to evaluate that system, increase the robustness of that system such that nominal expected navigation offsets would not be a problem if we did get ourselves into a situation with a lower ceiling. And that's ongoing work that we continue to pursue.
And from the Cape to NASA headquarters now for questions.
This is Washington, A.R. Hogan, Writers Plus Newsroom and Journal Papers. Question, this is now looking at a trio of green missions. I guess this would be for Mr. Shriver. Do you think this will help some of the people out there who do not understand the many benefits of the space program to focus attention on how it directly benefits people on Earth by the environmental focus of these 1, 2, 3 missions in a row? And I have one other question.
Well, I guess I would hope that the public and scientists, everyone involved in the program, would recognize the fact that we just spent 11 very productive days on orbit gathering some very direct information about the Earth and the Earth's surface. And I think that as the next few weeks unfold, and as they are able to dig even further into the data and analyze and put it all together, that we'll see some even more striking results than we have already. And that, I think, will lend itself then to people eventually seeing that we really are producing some firsthand scientific data and can possibly come up with some models about what's happening on the Earth that will benefit us in the future.
Okay, and two brief questions here. Was there any consideration given to extending the mission to get more data on this Persian Gulf burning phenomenon? And how does it look now for the Astro 2 mission, which will be the first launch of calendar year 1995? When is that shaping up as a launch date for that mission? That's it from here.
We did not really consider lengthening the mission for that purpose. There were other reasons why we added the extra day. And as far as STS-68 is concerned, we have that scheduled for launch currently on the 3rd of November.
And that will do it for questions from NASA headquarters. Just one programming note, at approximately 5 o'clock Central Time this afternoon, perhaps a bit earlier, upcoming will be the astronaut post-landing news conference from the Dryden Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base involving the Commander Mike Baker and available crew members. Thanks very much.